Welcome back to Legends and Loggers, everybody. My name is Parker Wohlstein. I'm a forester and a wildlife biologist.
And I'm Zac Wohlstein. I'm an outdoor television producer.
And, we're getting a little bit deeper into the spooky season here. The nights are getting longer, leaves are changing, there's a touch of chill in the air. It's time to grab a nice hot beverage, snuggle up, and take in a good spooky story. At least that's how I hope it is for all y'all. In Louisiana, it's still 1 billion degrees, the AC is on full blast, and every tree is as green as they were when they leafed out. But it's always time for a good spooky story and a good drink. For Zach and I, it's probably still going to be ice cold.
Yeah.
Because, man, it's hot out. It was like 96 today. That's not almost October weather.
Yeah, all right.
But hunting season's coming up, so that's at least a plus.
Oh,
you can
yeah,
gut your deer.
season's literally like next week.
Yeah, you can gut your deer and have it spoil on you in about 30 minutes.
Look at
anyway, so today we're going to get into a pretty crazy cryptid story from East Africa called the Popobawa, a demon bat associated with a national panic and horrifying attacks. But before we settle down into the spook, Zach, what you drinking?
Actually, I got a freaking perfect one for this, so I want you to go first.
Oh, okay, that's good because mine has nothing to do with anything.
Nice.
What is
oh my god, I love
called?
that one. I've had that. Plata de Mango.
Oh, yeah.
Like that California company. What is it called?
It's Texan.
Texan. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's got Go Texan on it with a little circle around Texas.
Texan. But yeah, I've had that exact one before.
This is from Rare and Sons. I'll have Zach say the name again because he did it very well.
Plata de Mango.
Ah, yes. Mango chili beer with lime. I figured this week has been incredibly weird. Like just today, I was going to tell you about this before we started recording. I got stopped on the interstate on the way home. There was a traffic jam because several crates of pumpkins, squashes, and gourds had fallen off into the interstate.
Did you get any?
No. Not what I was expecting for my ride home though.
Yeah.
But yeah, got this mango thing. It's a weird sounding beer. Got mango, got lime, got chili.
Have you had?
I had a weird week. So
yeah.
there you go.
Have you had that mix before? Like that type of plata?
No.
It's freaking delicious, dude.
Also, Nicole says mango is a fruit. Some bats probably in East Africa are frugivores, so we'll go with that.
Go. Yeah.
Sure thing.
For those of you at home, plata de mango, this literally means a mango popsicle. And
what?
Yeah, mango popsicle. And then it has like chili, which is more of just like tahini, it's like a little bit of spices on it, and then lime. So it tastes like a mango popsicle with chili and lime and beer. But it's actually, I really liked it.
Yeah, and it's from Rar and Sons.
RAHR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. They had another one too.
So that's why there's a popsicle on it.
Yeah. Plata is a popsicle, essentially. Technically, it's just like frozen treat. The same thing we would say like frozen novelty in the grocery section. That's what it is in Spanish.
Gotcha.
All right, you ready? This is one I've actually been excited about for whenever we first started the show.
Is it bat squatch? Fat bat. Wow.
Yeah, dude. It is this freaking silly looking bat thing. I don't know if you can see it well on the camera, but I love it. It's just a little silly looking bat. And it's from Austin, Texas.
That's good for October.
Yeah, it says enjoy it upside down. So I'm going to be taking the first sip with it, fully upside down, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
No, Parker. Okay.
I can't wait for you to be like, it says enjoy upside down, so here we go, everybody. And you just hold it like this, and you just crack it, and it just all spills out.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just saying, like, it says to enjoy it upside down. And it's just...
Oh, man.
All right. There goes my beer.
I'm going to preface by saying, unfortunately, this one is an IPA, so...
Gross. Episode over.
Yeah, take a collective moment of silence, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway. That was good. We're on it.
Yeah. We're going to break these bad boys open? Because it looks like you're about to just keep going.
Dude, I'm telling you, sober Thursdays.
Yeah.
Oh, that came open.
Oh,
we might have an issue here. Oh, okay.
Nice. I still like the cheers.
Whoa! Hey, yeah.
It's got a lot of flavors to it, right?
Yeah, what's happening to me?
Yeah, it's interesting.
What's happening in my mouth? Huh.
It's pretty cool though.
Yeah, wow, that is nothing I've ever conceived of having as a brewski.
As far as IPAs go, this isn't bad. I don't mind it. It's a hazy IPA, so I don't know. I don't know if that makes a difference one way or another.
That's interesting. It's
Yeah,
like
so the way I described
like
that one before is that one's like a good snack beer. Like that's not one that you pair with other stuff. That's just one that you drink by itself, like doing something else.
yeah, it's like it starts off sweet and then for some reason the spice is like hitting me in the back of the throat.
Yeah.
Like I'm not really tasting it that much, but like I feel it in the back of my throat.
I haven't had that one seriously like 2 years. I gotta get that again.
Probably not the best for recording with
The
spice
throat
being
stuff.
in the back of my throat.
Nice.
But yeah, that's good. I like it.
Yeah, and Fatback, if you're in the Austin area, or I guess it's General Texas, they probably sell it all over in Texas. I'd recommend giving it a go. It's by Thirsty Planet Brewing. So yeah, pretty cool
Nice.
actually. I like it.
Excellent. All right, so let's dive in. I will preface by saying the format of this episode is going to be a little bit different than other ones, especially mine, because I like to find really good long stories and just kind of roll with that. I'm not, as big on like chronological. I'm not going to just like throw in one just because it fits in the chronology. I like these like big, massive, spooky campfire stories. That's just the way I like to do it. But I struggled to find a lot of super great, solid encounters for this one. But the monster is definitely spooky. Really interesting culturally there in East Africa, and therefore still definitely worth discussing, and it should be pretty fun. With that being said, the Popobawa is largely a demonic bat, but also quite a bit more than that. It is an evil spirit that can shapeshift into multiple forms, but is often depicted as being one-eyed, having a small body like a dwarf, sharp talons, and having bat-like wings. Popobawa in Swahili actually means batwing, but for sure more man-bat rather than Batman.
Okay.
It is also accompanied by a foul, terrible sulfur smell, and sometimes puffs of smoke around it. And here's where we start getting into the even freakier stuff other than the cryptid. It commonly attacks victims via sleep paralysis. Once its victim is paralyzed, unable to defend themselves, or oftentimes not even see the assailant, the Popobawa will leave gashes, bruises, break bones, cause suffocation, or most egregious of all, it'll sexually assault the victim, particularly by sodomizing men.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's a
Not-
heinous little bat.
Yeah, not good. I mean, you have your typical cryptid stuff where it's like, oh, they scared me, they slashed at me, but like that's a yikes.
Got my car tire or whatever.
Yeah,
That's some pretty dark stuff there.
yeah. The sexual assault thing is very prominent in the whole lore,
Really?
and like it sometimes with women, but like mainly men. So it's like, oh man, this guy's. I mean, it's a spirit for sure. Yeah, now I definitely believe it is in fact an evil spirit.
Yeah, it sounds pretty freaking evil.
Yeah,
It
it's not.
reminds me, except for the rape. It reminds me a lot of the bunyip.
Yeah, kind of like that,
Yeah.
but not. It's a bat in the air.
Yeah, but evil spirit that's in the shape of a general animal. It takes on different forms.
Yeah, I guess so. This one's a little bit more complicated.
You gotta keep it complicated.
So the Popobawa is believed to be a demon in general, but specifically a shetani or jinn. So let's dive
jinns
into
are freaky,
a little
dude.
bit about those. So the shetani are mostly malevolent spirits from East Africa, particularly Tanzania, Mozambique, and Kenya. They come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and levels of evil. Like this one's a cyclopsian man bat that can also go in a other shapes, but there's like elephant ones and just uh, any shape or form you can think of. There's probably a shetani that looks like that. Um, and they're often depicted in tribal art. Meanwhile, jinns or genies are Arabic in origin and can be invisible or shapeshifters, and they can also be either very good or very evil. So both kind of work for old Popo, you know. Could go either way there. The jinn idea for the Popobawa comes from the remnants of the Arab-led slave trade in and around Zanzibar. Zanzibar is a semi-autonomous state within Tanzania. It's comprised of a lot of small islands, but the main two big ones, Unjuga and Pemba. Zanzibar was held under Arab rule for a long time, and a huge anti-Arab revolution occurred in 1964, which leads us directly into the Popobawa story. Supposed reports of Popobawa sightings and attacks started in 1965, like I said, 1 year after the revolution of Zanzibar. A popular belief is that a sheikh, which is an Arab elder, while angry with a neighboring community, likely because of the real or perceived anti-Arab sentiment, he summoned the worst kind of jinn slash demon slash shetani slash spirit he could to wreak havoc on those who angered him, aka the African people that have lived there for millennia that were sick of the slave trade slash racial disparities after Britain came in and largely got rid of the slave trade within Zanzibar. Apparently, the sheik was good enough at sorcery to summon a horrific being, but not good enough to keep it under his control. Because of his failure to control it, the Popobawa has been terrorizing the area since. There are reports of up to 10 people being victimized by the Popobawa, which caused a big panic amongst the already tumultuous political climate. The first president of Zanzibar actually used the Popobawa in his campaign. He claimed to control it if he won and challenged it to come after him instead of his people. And he straight up won the election. No word on if the Popobawa actually came to him or not. But after the election, the Popobawa claims went dark. There was no more for a while.
Oh my God! So he actually did own it?
No, he didn't own it. He just all these reports. Yeah, all these reports are going around, and I don't think it was like his main campaign slogan.
I love that idea. It's like all these big old like campaign posters and whatnot, and it's like vote for me or else, and it has like a picture of like a bat, like maybe he's put the bat's hand on his shoulder or something, you know?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
It's like vote for. I forgot what his name is. It's complicated, and I don't even think I can say it.
Okay.
But it's like vote for so and so. We'll stop rapey bat.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. I don't think that was like his main campaign slogan, but I think like in interviews and like rallies and stuff, he'd be like, "Also, I'll get rid of the demon bat."
And I imagine like the next debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine the next debate. It's like my opponent. What is he gonna do? Like improve the school system, make like lower taxes or something like that. Well, me, I'll get rid of that bat. You know that bat? That's been bruising and killing everybody? I'll get rid of it. It's
yeah,
mine.
he's like, you're not going to care about taxes or, changing leadership and becoming a semi-autonomous state for the first time.
Yeah.
And none of that's going to matter if you're being attacked by a demon bat.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, yeah, okay.
Well, it's like, well, shoot, he wanted a landslide, I'm sure.
Yeah. So they went dark for a couple years. And then in 1971, there's claims that a girl was possessed by the Popobawa, which is apparently a thing that they can do.
Yeah, I was about to say, what?
No other sources really mention that, but I think that might kind of go down the demon route, or Shetani might be able to do that. But anyway, they thought that she was possessed by the Popobawa. No real proof in it that we'll see, but they say. So there's a young girl named Fatima, and she just all of a sudden started speaking in a deep man's voice. And as soon as she started speaking out of that voice, she smelled of sulfur. It isn't documented what she said, but they called a local shaman, and he performed the rituals to cast it out and give goat sacrifices. And apparently casting it out made it manifest,
Wow.
And around that time, there was more reports of the Popobawa actually being seen lurking around the town, which obviously this caused mayhem and panic for about a year
Wow.
until that first president that we mentioned was assassinated in 1972.
What?
Then the
Same guy?
Yeah. Then the creature went dark again for many, many years.
Okay,
Weird.
so yeah, it sounds like that president is somehow connected.
Yeah, it's pretty odd. But basically, to sum it up, I don't want to get too in the weeds here. Basically, like, there's two factions, almost like a two-party thing. And then this other party didn't like that he got elected, so they had him assassinated. And then there was like a whole big deal. There's not really any connection between this possessed girl and the president or anything, and nothing in there besides they smelled the sulfur and then saw the Popobawa later, just like walking around town and doing what it does.
Just going about town.
Yeah, this is also the only encounter where they say it was just like lurking. You know, most of the ones that like only comes to specific people, like when they're vulnerable. This one, it was just like apparently they're seeing it in like the daytime is going around and all that.
It was a bad about town.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this one was kind of weird. It's like Popobawa adjacent. It's like, was she possessed by it? Was it a coincidence that she started talking and then it showed up? What's the deal with the president being assassinated and then it stopping all of a sudden after going crazy for like a year?
Do you think it went into mourning and that's what it was?
Like,
oh man, my good friend Prez is gone, and like he just goes off to his cave with like a 6-pack and pours one out for his homie. Yeah.
Maybe. He probably listens to more goth music. He's listening to Siouxsie and the Banshees. Anyway, so then
he's listening to Bat Out of Hell.
Yeah. So it goes quiet again. And then that brings us to probably the craziest portion of the whole Popobawa saga.
Nice.
Once again started up on the island of Pemba, but this time in 1995. This is pretty much going to be verbatim from a paper called Diabolical Delusions and Hysterical Narratives in a Postmodern State by Martin Walsh. He's done several deep dives in the whole Popobawa phenomenon. Funny enough, there's a lot of articles. I could almost find next to nothing about the Popobawa.
Yeah.
I could find so many articles of beef between writers.
Oh,
like
wow.
There's like this much knowledge of the Popobawa, and there's just paper after paper. You know, like those like peer-reviewed like critical analysis of something else.
Yeah.
Just those being like, this person's wrong. They're not taking into account this cultural narrative and blah blah. And like this person will be like, no, but that take is dumb from this guy.
From different people, or is it all like the same two, like back and forth?
It's like the same four that are so mad at each other. If you read them, they're like so and so did this, which shows a lack of intelligence or understanding. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I caught up in this like academic beef?
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, shout out to Martin Walsh for actually having some decent info.
Nice.
But a tip, maybe make a shorter title that doesn't make you sound pretentious.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is directly from his paper. In the first week of Ramadan, the month of daytime fasting, men and women in and around the southern Pemban port of Makwani began to complain of nocturnal spiritual assaults. The culprit was subsequently identified as a shetani, an evil spirit, and given the name Popobawa, a label which people remembered from a similar panic in the years following the revolution. So a typical assault involves somebody waking up in the night to find themselves being attacked by an amorphous or shape-shifting intruder, which was most frequently described as pressing or crushing their chest and ribs, of suffocating them until they had difficulty breathing and passed out.
Wow.
Other unusual events might precede or accompany or perhaps replace this standard experience, including strange sights, sounds, smells, and other sensations. And then he goes on a side note where he says, one of my favorites is a man who was woke up with a start to the sound of an alarm bell when he looked to one side and saw a tiny dog with a rotating green light on its head. He watched it in silence, struck completely dumb, while this dog itself began to revolve, turning faster and faster, getting bigger and bigger as it did so, and the light on its head began to shine brighter and brighter. This whirling, illuminated, growing dog subsequently turned into a human giant so tall that his head and shoulders were invisible. That's all we have on that. Just a little side note about somebody saw whenever they're supposedly getting attacked by a Popobawa.
If we could pause real quick and go back there. He says that a typical assault involves somebody waking up in the night and finding themselves being attacked by an amorphous or shape-shifting intruder, which was most frequently described as pressing or crushing their chest and ribs, suffocating them until they had difficulty breathing. Now that, in particular, sounds like the sleep paralysis.
That's just like straight up sleep paralysis.
Yeah, like specifically like when people had sleep paralysis where they see some sort of, that common term sleep paralysis demon, or just like some sort of entity, if you will. But that's decently well documented, at least in like America and I assume other first world countries and whatnot, as being like a psychological phenomenon as opposed to a physical assault. So anyways, just throwing it out there.
Kind of the kicker here is as I was researching, I was like, all right, does the Popobawa cause sleep paralysis, or are you already in sleep paralysis and then it attacks?
Yeah.
You know?
Or, secret option 3, was it actually real? And are people just attributing like this legend of a Popobawa to them experiencing sleep paralysis? They're like, I had this weird thing last night. It must have been the Popobawa. We can talk about that later. I just wanted to propose that thought while it was still fresh on the mind.
Well, we'll get into some of the stuff that people also experience while they're paralyzed. So back into it. Sometimes the victims were children subjected to the kinds of abuse that we might associate ourselves with the poltergeist. In general, all the victims experience extreme terror and were frozen speechless when they were assaulted.
What?
Their frozen plight might be recognized by their sleeping partners, who might also be attacked in return. That's odd for your sleep paralysis.
Yeah, for it to affect the second person outside of it.
Yeah, if you notice like your other you're like whoever you're sleeping with, if you notice them having sleep paralysis, it's not going to cause you to go paralyzed.
Yeah.
Like, because they wake up, they see the person like freaking out, and then they get paralyzed and start saying stuff.
Yeah, usually like with regular sleep paralysis, with like what is known as sleep paralysis, you can wake the person up and they're out of it,
Yeah. This happened to people who didn't ordinarily have possessing spirits, as well as those who did. And then another
they just have possessing spirits?
I guess so.
It's this happened to both the people that are, constantly being possessed, as well as those who are not.
Well, East Africa still has pretty big influence as far as like witchcraft and magic and all that goes. That's why they in 1971 they called a shaman, not like the doctor.
Oh yeah, I didn't even bat an eye at that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gives another sidebar and says, during that time, Zanzibar is in the middle of a spirit possession complex that spreads from Somalia in the north to Madagascar in the south. So I guess like all over kind of East Africa, people are getting possessed by demons and stuff. However, household members and neighbors who did have possessing spirits were liable to go into a trance when the Popobawa was about. And when they did so, their spirits would identify and challenge the Popobawa and cry out to alert others of his presence. So what I'm assuming here is like, basically it's saying like people that are in touch with their spirituality and stuff, or could maybe like astral project or something like that. Like they were in good connection with their spirit or soul and whatever, and would leave their bodies, their spirit self could see the Popobawa and then go and like warn other people that were sleeping. The spirit or spirits, multiple spirits would be called Ma Popobawa, might attack many homes simultaneously in the same or different parts of the town or countryside. The attacks spread across Pemba, and people began sleeping outside their houses, trying to stay awake, huddled around open fires. At first, because it was Ramadan, the people were unable to resort to wanganga, local doctors, to divine their troubles or help people protect them. In some cases, I'm not sure whether this was during or after Ramadan, individual communities were believed to have successfully repelled Popobawa because they possess superior guardian spirits. Occasionally, people took matters into their own hands, and local mobs actually beat up suspected manifestations of Popobawa. Usually unkept or inarticulate men with mental health problems who are found wandering about at night. Which there's documented a case of this, like a bunch of the articles. I think this guy wrote an article solely on it, but during this 1995 panic, like people were getting so worked up. There's this one guy, he was like mentally insane or had some disorder, and he just like walks out in the middle of the street while people are sleeping out there because they're terrified of the Popobawa, and he's like, I am the Popobawa, and like started just like freaking out and having convulsions and stuff. So they just like straight up killed him in the street.
What?
And
I thought you were going to say like they beat the snot out of him or something.
No, they murdered him.
Holy
like,
crap.
This like mentally unstable person just walks out in the street. People are out there because they're afraid to sleep in their homes. Because like there's local lore that like if you sleep outside your house or like in a bed that you're unfamiliar with, then it won't come to you. It's only like once you're good and cozy, then it'll come after you. But yeah, this guy walks out in the street, claims that he's the Popobawa, and they just straight up murder him. Jeez. Like this whole mob just like tears him limb from limb, basically.
Wow.
And nobody gets prosecuted. He's the Popobawa, dude.
Yeah,
come on.
Did him a favor.
Yeah, doing the world a favor.
Yeah.
So after about 2 months, the panic was dying down on Pemba. By then, it had spread to the Zanzibar town on the main island of Unguja. Here, both the assaults and the popular response took a more violent turn. Popobawa began to sodomize his male and female victims, and several alleged Popobawas were killed by angry mobs. The most notorious of these incidents took place in Zanzibar town. Here's the guy that I was just talking about.
Oh, wow.
Forgot that I'd written this down, or that it was in his article I'm quoting from. The body of the victim was displayed for all to see in a government hospital, and his parents were interviewed on state television to verify that he was a mainlander who had come to Zanzibar to seek mental health treatment for his mental health problems. The crowds of the people that filed past his bodies were generally unconvinced by this explanation. The government had no doubt substituted the Popobawa with the real corpse. So they were like, they thought that the mobs had killed the Popobawa.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, we want to see this Popobawa corpse. And then they just see this guy. And they're like, instead of being like, oh, we killed a guy, they're like,
where's the real one?
Yeah, they're like, we killed the Popobawa, and that's just a dude.
Oh,
they're like, the government took the Popobawa and put this guy here.
Nice try.
But yeah, so they thought that they just substituted it. And then they persuaded the alleged parents to say that it was their son's body. Within a couple of weeks of this incident, the Popobawa, about 70 or so accounts, had moved north out of town, and eventually the attacks fizzled out without spreading to villages on the south or east of the island. They did, however, spread at least one quarter into Dar es Salaam, which is on mainland Tanzania, and a lot of Zanzibarian people live there, and perhaps also to Tanga and Mombasa over there in Kenya, though I can't confirm at this time. On Pemba, the episode lasted about 2 months before ravaging Zanzibar town and northwest Ungaja for a third month. The terror ended on the islands almost 6 months before the October 1995 elections took place.
This thing really likes politics, dude.
Yeah, so it is kind of strange some of the occurrences that happen involving politics, but
Yeah,
it's not
pretty
like
consistent. Or do you think it's actually like it's more of just those are the only like big, what's the term, points in time, like essentially like markers in time that they can be like it happened at the same time as this thing, and there's not a lot of big events and whatnot. That's just like one of the few. I can't. There's a word for it, like landmarks, but in time.
the popular belief is like what we were originally thinking, where it does coincide with political times.
Wow.
But
Do you think that they're talking
what's
to like the shamans or something, and then like conjuring it?
maybe. But
Wow.
what's weird is we're about to get into like there's two more big events of hysteria in 2001 and 2007, and neither one of them were anywhere close to an election time.
Oh, okay. Well, so much for that.
Yeah, which, but like the 1995 one, if it was for political gain, one,
You'd want it to start
nobody,
up then, not end then, huh?
yeah, one, nobody was claiming it. Like that
Yeah.
president, nobody was like, I'll stop all the Popobawa attacks and everything. Nobody was like saying that. And you would want like the height of it to be right at election time. You wouldn't want it to fizzle out right there 6 months before. I mean,
Yeah.
6 months in political time is 5 years, you know? Um, yeah, that 1995 kind of era was like the big story
Hmm.
as
That's
far
like
as
the most
Popobawa goes.
most victims and whatnot.
Yeah, the most victims, which I guess it said like 70 accounts or so. The first one in like the 60s was only about 10 or so people. We don't have any data on the ones from the 70s, but 1995 is like the year everybody talks about for the Popobawa. Because I mean,
That's their equivalent of the Jersey Devils 1909.
yeah. Or was it 1919?
I don't remember. It was 19 and then a 9. I don't know.
Yeah,
that
something
is.
1909, where it was like, okay, there's
Like 100
story
sightings.
here, story there, and then it's like, boom, it's here.
Yeah.
Same deal with this, and like imagine. Okay, let's like put this into another perspective. That's like imagine, you live in L.A. All right, you live in L.A. and there
Los
starts
Angeles,
being
for those who don't know.
yeah. Or it's really confusing to me to live in Louisiana now because I'll like type in blah blah LA and then it'll start giving me results for Los Angeles and I'm like, no. Louisiana, please. Well, let's say you live in LA. That's like some people start saying that they're being sodomized by a bat in the nighttime, and then that's starting there, and then like spreading to like San Francisco, San Diego, like all the biggest towns in the
Yeah.
area, just like kind of slowly creeping over time, and like as it's moving up, it's not like it wasn't like a blip of like, hey, it's here. It was like moving north, which was weird. Like it kind of was like in Pemba, and then went down south to the main island, but it was kind of in the middle and went up. And like as it spread, the other ones would fizzle out, which is odd.
Almost like it was actually moving.
Yeah, because I mean, if something like this happened in the United States, I would figure, and it was like a fake brought up thing. I would assume that it's like once it gets started, people start grabbing onto it. Then it's like everybody's in an uproar at the same time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that in 1995. It was like started here, then slowly moved down, then slowly started moving up on that main island,
Mhm.
which pretty weird.
That is odd.
Yeah, but
I have another theory about this, but we'll talk about it in the explanation spade.
yeah, we'll get to it
Stage.
later.
Yeah.
Once again, the Popobawa attacks and encounters died down, like they are known to, until it resurfaced in 2000, which I don't really have any data on, then 2001, and finally in 2007. So the following is from a BBC article titled "Sex Mad Ghost Scares Zanzibaris"
Wow.
by Ali Saleh, written in 2001. Fear struck the residents of Zanzibar Islands after rumors of the reemergence of a sexually voracious ghost that attacks people while they sleep in their beds at night. Many Zanzibaris are now refusing to sleep in their houses as they believe it only preys on people in comfort of their own beds. The ghost or genie goes by the name of Popobawa. I like that it says it goes by. Like,
Yeah.
it came out and said, my given name is blah, blah, but I
But I
choose
go by
Popobawa.
Actually, James, but I go by Popobawa.
James is my father's name. Just call me
Yeah.
Popobawa. And people believe that it sodomizes its victims, most of whom are men. In recent years, the residents on the semi-autonomous Tanzanian islands claim that Popobawa only visited the islands during voting, such as in the contentious general elections of 1995 and 2000.
Also
But to
2000.
the surprise, yeah. But to the surprise of many, this current ghost has reappeared when there's no polling of any kind.
Wow.
In the latest panic, he is said to be striking in the north of Zanzibar Island as well in central Pemba.
He's always
People-
in Central Pemba.
Yes, dude. Yeah, Popobawa loves Pemba for some
Yeah, I
reason.
feel bad for these pendants.
It might be from that. I mean, that Sheik released it on Pemba, supposedly. People claim his presence in a house is revealed by an acrid smell and a puff of smoke. Victims then speak of being in a trance or dreamlike state as they are molested.
Jeez.
And so the story goes, if they do not reveal what has happened, then the Popobawa will strike the next night. Which I
Hey.
hadn't mentioned it until now because I wanted to surprise you. Another really weird thing about the Popobawa is that whenever he attacks people, he demands that you tell
I was about to
everybody
say,
that you know what
I want
happens.
to make sure I heard that right. So it's if you do not reveal, then it will come again.
Yeah,
It's like
if you
the
go
opposite
out,
of what you normally get.
yeah, if you go out and you tell everybody that you know, then he doesn't come and get you anymore.
It's okay. There's two things there. There's two things. Considering that a lot of it's attacks or like sexual assault and whatnot, that's like a nice little salt on the wound. It's like, hey everybody, it got me. You know.
Yeah, especially like the
I don't want it to get
shame.
me again, so I gotta tell you. And now all of you guys are picturing it.
Yeah, I mean that really goes into like the whole evil aspect of it. It's like, all right, not only are you doing one of the most awful things you can do to a person, and then it's demanding that you go and tell everybody, or else it's going to do it again and again and again.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's, ugh. That is a spirit I don't want to mess with.
Yeah, for real.
And I guess that leads it. It's almost like, I mean, this thing is like, if it's real, it's really evil because I mean, it's doing that,
Oh yeah.
and then it tells you that you have to tell everybody, and
then
of
it laughs.
course, that causes a national panic.
Yeah.
If everybody that is getting attacked has
If
to
you
go out
start
and then
hearing
tell,
about it left and right, yeah.
yeah, and then everybody's getting attacked has to go tell about it, then like the chances for a national hysteria just go crazy. Also, kind of along those lines, Popobawa friggin' hates skeptics.
What do you mean? Like if you don't believe it, it's like especially gonna attack you? Or?
Yes. Like
Oh,
if
I
someone's
see.
like, I was attacked by the Popobawa, and you're like, that's not real, then it like would
You
for
think that's got its
sure
hard on
come
your
after
back.
you.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think I put it in here, but there's actually a conversation between like they're asking this one guy, and he was talking about how it attacks skeptics, and they're like, how do you know? He's like, because I'm an outspoken skeptic in it. And he's basically like, yeah, I don't believe in it whatsoever. I don't believe in spirits or anything like that. And they're like, well, have you been attacked by him? And he's like, yeah. they're like, and you don't believe in spirits? And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's more than I get out of my wife.
And then he walks away bow-legged.
Like this was an actual interview with the guy.
He said that?
He was like, yeah, it really attacks skeptics. And they're like, how do you know? He's like, I'm a devout skeptic. And then they're like, you don't believe in spirits? He goes, nah.
And I want to go on
like,
record.
yeah, and they're like, and it's attacked you. And he's like, yup. Like, this is like almost talking. You know when you're talking to some people and you're like, you are so dumb. Like, I can't even get on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't believe in spirits? Nope. The spirit attacked you? Yup.
You know what? That comes across like the Patrick like in the manta ray thing, where he's like,
yeah.
"Is this your wallet? Nope. Is this your driver's license? Yes. Well, is in this wallet? Yes. Then it must be your wallet. No.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then he literally just makes a joke. He's like, it's more than I get out of my wife being attacked by the Popobawa. And then interview's over.
Jeez, guy.
But yeah, apparently like some people would like be trying to dig into the Popobawa story, and they'd come in and be like, no, this thing isn't real. It's just a national hysteria. There was precedent for the lore, and then people got on it. And then like the next day they're like, never mind, it came and molested me. It's real.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
So then,
crazy.
finally, in another BBC article from 2007, it's called Sex Attacks Blamed on a Bat Demon, with no author listed. Never thought that I was going to read that. I never thought I was going to read any of these titles in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Sex Attacks Blamed on a Bat Demon. It says this. Men in parts of Tanzania's main city, Dar es Salaam, are living in fear of a nighttime sex attacker. A BBC correspondent says that the attacks are being blamed by some on a demon called Popobawa, meaning winged bat. Some men are staying awake or sleeping in groups outside their homes. Others are smearing themselves with pig's oil, believing this repels attacks. Reports of the demon's existence have been common for many years in Zanzibar, where the locals claim it originated. The BBC's John Nagiyoma in Dar es Salaam says not many people actually believe that the demon exists, and there have been no sightings. But Mikbaru Ibrahim, who hails from Zanzibar, says the story of the demon is common there, and the people in his village on Pemba Island sleep beside a huge fire outside their houses whenever it is said to be appearing. The story goes that the bat is able to transform itself into a man at night, and has also been blamed for some rapes of women. Sheikh Yahya Hussein, a prominent astrologer in Tanzania, claims that the demon is a spirit that is unleashed by witches to torment their opponents. That was kind of another origin story, but it was hard to find like any really backing to it. It was just like casual mentions that like witches were bringing them. Kind of same thing as like the Sheikh deal.
Yeah.
And then it concludes the article by saying, belief in witchcraft and superstition is still widespread in Tanzania, especially in rural areas. So yeah, he's back in 2007.
Wow.
I don't believe any elections were happening at that time either. So kind of goes against the original lore of it.
Which means it's weird that it was ever during elections in the first place.
Yeah, and then this one was like almost exclusively on
Pemba?
mainland Tanzania.
Oh,
which
okay.
Before there's like only a little smidgen of the hysteria that reached that city on Tanzania, but not too much.
Yeah.
This one was like reporting
straight up there
directly from that town. And also, yeah, there's like a whole big thing of like the shamans telling people what they could do to repel the attacks. You know, like it's been mentioned before, you could sleep somewhere that's not like in the comfort of your own bed. So a lot of people were sleeping outside, just like in the street beside their home, by big fires. Men were getting so freaked out in some of the villages that they just all come together. And they're like, all right, let's just all sleep in a big, like, just lined up side by side, Boy Scout style,
nice.
and under the stars, so we don't get attacked by this bat thing. And then even sometimes like rubbing themselves with oil from pigs and stuff because they thought that it would repel the attacks.
Did it?
There's no report on that.
You know what it makes me think of? The
What?
like time suck, like the what's the guy's name? Woody's demon rape repellent.
Yeah, basically. Whee!
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some explanations here. So the first one that people have proposed is that the Popobawa comes from the collective trauma of the Zanzibaris from all the slavery of the Arabs and all the horrific stuff that happened to them during that Arab slave trade. How does that make a rapey bat? You know?
All right. Let me throw something out here.
Okay.
Maybe that particular part comes from like that slaves, because like one thing we know for sure happened when it comes to American slaves, and I assume it happens all over the world, was slave owners would often rape their slaves. Yes. So maybe this came from a like I don't even know where I'm going with that, but like essentially
Collective trauma, like I said.
Well, yeah, but like a collective trauma, but like like it was a blame for generations, and it continued to be a blame to that day, if that makes sense. So instead of being birthed from the trauma, it was carried on with it.
Ah. Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily hold water, but that's just like one potential explanation there.
Yeah, that's probably my least favorite of the explanations. Like, I could believe that like human brains are so weird and we're like oddly connected to ancestors in like ways that you wouldn't think that you are.
Okay.
But like getting from that to this really strange mass hysteria phenomenon of a very specific shape-shifting demon bat.
Yeah, that's a bit of a quantum leap.
Yeah, I just don't know how it would go from that to there. Like, if you, like, my thing would be like, oh, collective trauma, all right, they've got this ancestral weird stuff in their brain. There's like an Arab demon, you know, like something like that. But no, it's
why specifically this weird bat thing?
Yeah, and they claim like all the Zanzibaris.
Bat thing?
Yeah, and this explanation comes from Westerners. Like
okay.
all of the Zanzibaris say it's a shetani, which is like deeply ingrained. Like you can look up Eastern Africa shetani art, and like they have tons of tribal art of stuff that looks crazy like the Popobawa.
Oh, cool.
But just like other animals.
Like, I mean, it's interesting. I don't mean to say it's like a cool thing.
Yeah, so I wouldn't believe that one per se, because it seemed like a label that like these Western academics just kind of threw on it. You know, It's like, okay, well, these people, they have a name for it, you know, and they have all the lore of spiritual things before this ever happened. So, what's that face about?
I was like, oh, these pictures you're talking about, I'm gonna go check it out. So I went on to Google Images, typed in shetani, and like what apparently it's like a really popular furry as well.
Oh no.
Yeah. So a lot of these pictures.
I googled like shetani Tanzania.
That's better. That's
yeah. Or like shetani tribal art.
Ah, yes, there we go. Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty freaky looking too. A lot of it's scary.
Yeah, so my thing is like, I think that was just like something academia was trying to be all fancy about, and they're like, oh, it was from their collective trauma of this and that. It's like, well, buddy, like they have evil spirits that shapeshift and do all that, so I don't know. The next explanation could be that it was entirely made up for political gain because of all those connections to, I mean, their first president getting elected, and then other elections going on. But a couple things there. People were seeing something, apparently. You know, something was happening to them. I think it would be pretty hard. Like, how does a politician get people to start making claims like that? You know?
Money, maybe.
Yeah, money, but
But that would
like,
also, I don't know what the culture like is here, what the culture's like here, but I'm gonna assume it's like what most places were in the early 20th century and mid 20th century, like probably weren't too fond of people being homosexual. So
yeah, like there probably wouldn't be that many people, many men, like that many men that would openly be like, "Yeah, I was sexually assaulted by a demon bat," just to get it for like a little bit of change. And also,
yeah.
like, uh, if you're doing it to get political influence, there's a lot
Oh
easier
yeah,
ways
right.
to
That's a
get
weird
political
roundabout way of doing
influence.
it.
I know, right? Like, you can listen about like African warlords and stuff. Like, there's a million other ways. Like, if you're going to be corrupt about how you get political influence, getting like 70 people to claim that they were attacked by a demon
That
bat.
seems like an awful, awful,
Yeah,
awful way to go about it.
yeah, which was weird because that was the main explanation that most people go with. I was like, really? You think that's like they can't just like weasel themselves into like illegal diamond industry
Yeah.
or like there's so many other ways to get money and influence. Second to last here is that the Popobawa is just an actual demon slash shetani slash jinn.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably, sure.
Yeah.
I'd go with that. There are in fact demons. Why can't there be? I mean, this thing sounds evil as heck. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If it's a evil demon thing,
It does
yeah,
sound rather forgivable.
it's doing a pretty good job of being evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they, my thing is like if they're still messing around with witchcraft and all this other like tribal traditional stuff, like yeah, you're probably gonna let something bad loose.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I mean, whether you come from like Christian or traditional tribal stuff, like everything has good and bad stuff. So either way, there's probably demons, and you can probably loose them on the world. You know, so not too far fetched in my eyes. And then the last one here that I kind of thought up was it's historical lore mixed with actual sleep paralysis causing actual hysteria. So, like, I've watched documentaries and stuff on sleep paralysis,
Yeah.
and thinking about sleep paralysis or being scared of sleep paralysis increases your chances of it happening.
Oh wow.
Which
Okay.
which freaked me out because it terrifies me.
Yeah.
But like if you're constantly thinking about sleep paralysis, it's more likely to happen. And then whenever you take into account that an entity, like an evil entity like that would do some of that stuff to people,
Yeah. Yeah. That's known to
isn't
paralyze
that
people or whatnot.
isn't that far-fetched for their culture? If you have real sleep paralysis, but
It's a
deeply
short walk
ingrained,
for the mind to make that.
yeah. So if you already have these animal-human hybrid evil spirits, then like you could pretty easily manifest those in your mind subconsciously while you're already having sleep paralysis.
Absolutely.
And then because there's that rooted lore already, then as people have their typical sleep paralysis or hear about it, more people start having sleep paralysis, but their sleep paralysis is making this Popobawa demon instead of just like weird shadows in the corner, you know?
Yeah.
Then again, that doesn't really explain claims of like gashes and bruises and people getting broken bones while being attacked.
That's true. That's true. But no, that could also just be general like people assigning stuff that happens to the Popobawa.
True.
Which I want to throw out one of my thoughts here. Once again, I don't know what the culture is. Feelings or thoughts were towards homosexuality, but one potential thing is that it could just be people that like didn't want to like one of two things. Like a guy was going around doing this, like a regular old man, right? But people didn't want to say that they were assaulted by a man, So they made it the
Ah.
Popobawa to try and like, I don't know. I don't know because there's no good way. There's no actual better, but to make it a little better than it being right
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that nobody wants to talk about like getting assaulted like that, but like especially like dudes will just like
But if it's a
just
monster, though,
hide that down.
then
Yeah.
it makes it seem more like you were attacked by a monster as opposed to having, been assaulted.
So yeah, that's probably that's a good list of the explanations.
Yeah, out of all of them, I'd say I like yours the most. I think that to me that makes a lot of sense.
I go between mine and then probably just the fact that it's an actual demon. Those are probably my main two. Maybe more the actual demon. I mean, mess around and find out.
Yeah.
You play with witchcraft. Yeah, you get sleep paralysis demon bat.
You get witched.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do you expect? You're doing all this freaky deaky stuff.
You want witches? Because that's how you get witches.
Yeah, exactly. You want demon man bats? Because that's how you get demon man bats. You mess around with all that spooky stuff. Just be good. Yeah, probably that or just having the precedent and then it just being implanted in your mind because the sleep paralysis thing works way too much off your subconscious. Dreaming in general just works so much off the subconscious. So if that lore is already kind of there and then people start talking about it, it just kind of amplifies.
It just really, it's like a snowball effect.
Yeah, I hate sleep paralysis. I think it's one of the worst things that could happen to a person. I remember watching that one documentary about it and just on the verge of tears.
Oh
honestly.
my god, yeah.
That was the scariest thing I've ever watched. It's the
documentary.
documentary.
That gets me on, dude. Oh, we watched that together.
Yeah, it's the documentary they had on Netflix a while back.
I forgot about that.
People would tell their sleep paralysis stories, and then they'd
show depictions
like
of it too.
Yeah, they'd CGI it.
Yeah.
I remember like just sitting there in the chair and just like my eyes were going crazy and my hair's standing on end. I hated every second
that
of
was
that
the
thing.
single scariest movie I think I've ever watched.
Yeah, it nothing has even come close. I mean, I used to be a really big horror aficionado. Nothing came close to how freaked out I was from that.
And, like honestly, stories have always freaked me out a lot more than like movies and whatnot. Like if I read like some creepypasta or like any of the Rake stories, dude, those get me so much more than any given movie.
Yeah.
But did I ever tell you I had sleep paralysis?
No.
Yeah, back in college in UK, there is after we watched that freaking movie. I don't know, like
I told you, because I started researching after we watched it. I was like, does thinking about sleep paralysis make you have sleep paralysis? And they're like, God, yes. And I was like, oh no.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember how long after watching the movie it was, but it was after we watched that movie. But I had a dream where like I woke up and like I'm an early riser. Like usually whenever I wake up, it's like right when the sun's coming up, or sometimes it's even still dark. But I woke up and it was like bright outside as if it was like noon, and I was in my bed, but something felt like a little bit off. Like the best way I could describe it was like I know how my room's set up, I know how my bed is set up, but it felt like the bed was like almost a little bit further away from the wall than what it normally is, or something like that. Like it just felt like things were just slightly off. And I was laying there and I just plain simple couldn't move my arms, couldn't move my head or anything. It was just fully stationary. And then the door to my room opened, and I was like, oh god, what's happening? Because the door opened, there was nothing there, and then this green humanoid creature thing crawled from like behind me, like over my head and then onto my chest. That's all I remember, but
yikes.
But it was real freaky though.
Yeah, I do not like that. Thankfully, it also happens, in case anybody's watching, if you can lucid dream and you like to lucid dream, then
stop it.
Your chances of it happening go through the roof, because it's like super tied to lucid dreaming. I was like, man, I want to learn how to lucid dream. That sounds really neat. And then they're like, be careful, it'll cause a ton of sleep paralysis. And I was like, I never want to learn ever. I was like, if I
dreamt once.
Yeah, I was like, if I have a cool dream where Like I'm doing fun stuff. That's fine with me. Thankfully, you can ask my wife, I am an incredible sleeper.
Yeah, you are.
My head hits the pillow, I wake up in the morning.
Dude,
I
not
barely
dreaming is the best.
I barely ever dream.
The best.
It's just head down, alarm goes off, I'm up.
It's like real life fast travel. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've never had anything like that happen.
When you do dream, do you remember your dreams?
Maybe for like 30 seconds.
Right, dude. Like I'll remember it for like sometimes, not even always, but like yeah. As soon as I wake up, and then like once I stand up, it's gone. Like I forget it so fast. Emily remembers it for days, dude. It's crazy.
Whenever I do dream, like I probably have dreams maybe once a month, and when I do, I remember them being like basically like an episodes of a show. I have like 4 episodes. I can maybe remember the conclusion of the last episode, but I remember that there was 3 prior, but I have no clue what they were.
Would you say episodes or scenes?
Episodes, like they feel long. Like
Okay,
I'm doing a lot, and like there's a plot, basically, but then it's just like, but they're not in order with each other. It's basically like Family Guy episodes. It's like this happens, and then all that can happen, but then it has no
correlation to the next thing.
Yeah, and what's happening over here. All right, so that about does it for the Popobawa. Not a ton of information on it specifically. Not a lot of first-hand accounts of people, which kind of stinks.
But it sounds pretty freaking evil, though.
I did see one, like, it was a straight-up interview from somebody, confirmed interview, but they basically said the phenomenon that we were already talking about, where he's like, it was like a 2-sentence quote, and he's like, I felt it crushing me. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I lost it, and I was like, not worth really finding that again.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Hey, guy, try being more descriptive, okay?
Yeah. But not a lot of information.
With your words.
Yeah. Not a lot of information here, but I think we did a pretty good job explaining the phenomenon. Really, really weird stuff. A lot of angles you can come at the Popobawa. But good spooky tale. I hope none of you get visited by the Popobawa anytime soon or in your whole life, because that sounds
hopefully never.
absolutely awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that about does it for us today. Zach, what do you got for us next week?
So like we talked about earlier, we are now in October, and so we're going to be doing nothing but spooky stuff for this whole month. Next week, we're going to be going hard into the horror with a tale called the Infield Horror, and that is I mean, honestly, I don't even know what it is exactly. We'll talk about it next week. I don't want to describe what it is just yet, but essentially it's some sort of like weird encounter with a creature that I even hesitate to call a creature. It's dang near straight up a monster. But it is in a town called Enfield, Illinois, and it is just an absolutely bizarre creature that came across this family's home back in April 25th of 1973, and it's a crazy story. That's going to be, like you talked about earlier, like one of those campfire episodes where, actually, just like last week when we did the Hopkinsville Goblins, it's going to be just like that, just another straight story, really.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one.
I love that.
Pretty spooky.
Yeah, I know next to nothing about it. I've heard it in passing, but haven't looked up anything. I was like, I kind of want to
see. I kept
be shocked,
and I finally looked it up, and like it's pretty creepy. It's pretty scary.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. Well, that sounds like a super fun time. I'm excited for a campfire story. I already have a beer for it. Doesn't fit campfire whatsoever. Yeah, I'll spoil it. It's also mango. I got it like a month and a half ago.
Nice.
Because I was in Illinois. So I figured.
Oh, an Illinois beer for the Illinois episode.
Yeah, exactly. I got some extra. I got 2 while I was up there because we've had 2 Illinois stories. But yeah, it's like some mango son of a gun, which means it's mango 2 weeks in a row. Hey,
heck yeah. You know what? Can you keep it going for all 4 episodes of October?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
It's mango everything.
Okay. So I got the Twisted Tea mango flavor now?
Yeah. I did have that like Surf's Up one that was mango. Anyway. We will catch you all next week. If you want to say anything to us, give us some cryptids or strange stuff to look into, be sure to comment down below or send us a message or an email.
Hey, you just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Give us a shout. Add Legends and Loggers on social media.
Yeah, if you're a casual listener out there that doesn't know us, please get in touch with us. I'm very curious about like real humans that are watching this show, because it boggles my mind that like there is some that are viewing this. So if you like watch this to the end and you're a real person, like contact us, say hi, or I'm very curious.
I would
also
love to hear from you,
yeah, still if you give us a 5-star review, we'll send you a drawing.
Still going. Yep.
Yeah.
You can ask for something in particular, or we'll just make something up on the fly.
Yeah, free form. Anyway, that is all from us this week. Stay wild out there, folks.
Yep, and live life legendary.